9, the Austin Music Experience. I'm Laurie Gallardo. Welcome to KUTX at home. Here I am in my home. You know the drill. Look, I am thrilled to have my guest with me this afternoon. It's been a while since we've had a time to chat, and now we're kind of getting the opportunity, just not in person. Please welcome my guest today, Mobley. Hi, Mobley.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. And I need to like rein in my nerdiness because I've got so much to chat about with you. And really, I'm going to start by saying I'm always waiting for your next project because you are on the move. You keep going. And I
Thank
love what you do, surely. And first of all, wanted to chat a little bit about the new EP. And I did mention this long before quarantine started. Young and Dying in the Occident Supreme. I can't just say Young and Dying, I have to say the entire title.
you.
And the producer on there, one of the producers, aside from yourself, is Jim Eno. Tell me about that partnership. How did that come about?
So Jim actually worked mixed on two of the songs.
Gotcha.
Uh,
Okay.
it came about. I think I met Jim through Black Fret, and then I worked on one of the songs on Walker Lucan's last record, and worked on that at Public Hi-Fi and met Jim, and then actually while we were doing that, I was like, "Hey Jim, I just got signed. I'm going to be putting out a record, and I have these two singles that I think it would be cool to have you mix on them." And he was into it, and so yeah, he mixed uh, the song "Nobody's Favorite," which is my first single, which came out in February, and I think you guys are playing that song. And then he mixed a song that was originally intended to come out last month, a song called James Crow. Um, but yeah, Jim's great, and it was I record and produce and mix all my stuff actually at home in the room that I'm in right now,
Yeah.
and so it was a very different experience to go to Jim's very nice, very professional, very kitted out studio, and work with him and Grant Epley over there. But I'm really pleased with the results on those tracks.
That's awesome. And I've also known Jim Eno for a little while, and it's just great to see him working with many artists. So this in particular got me really happy. I was really happy to hear about this. And speaking of nobody's favorite, I have to talk about the video, which I don't know. I am not always a music video person, but this one for some reason, and I think it's because it has this dream quality to it. And when I say dream, I mean the pattern of it, which is sometimes like some of my nightmares. And I mean it. This is absolutely sincerely a compliment, but just the repetition of it. I was wondering if you could give our viewers today kind of a description of the video. You don't have to give too much of it away. And tell me about the creation of that, the production. I really like it. It's gorgeous, first of all.
Thank you.
But there is that nightmare quality. My heart was kind of my heart was kind of racing. I like it a lot. Tell me about
Yeah, so the video is actually part of a larger film that I made that goes with the entire record. So it's part one of four parts, um, and it sets the stage for the rest of the action that happens. So what happens in the video is my character wakes up in this mansion. He's very disoriented. He finds an invitation in his pocket, and then kind of wanders around uh, the mansion until he finds this room with a piano in it. And he goes, and just as he starts to kind of work something out on the piano, this red light flashes, and he's zapped back to where he was at the beginning. And he wakes up again, goes through the whole process again, finds another instrument. Just as he starts playing that, he gets zapped again, and he's back to the start. And then there's a montage, and so he's kind of like, every time he wakes up, there are more instruments in this room, and he's kind of building up a song until he gets to this point where, when the light flashes, instead of zapping back to the room, he goes into this kind of nothing space and is playing the song, And at the end of the video, he's kind of rescued from this like weird purgatory from by a woman who breaks into the mansion and gets him out.
Yeah.
The production of the video was really really wild. So we shot it. Part of why it has the kind of visual quality that it does is we shot it on film,
Yeah.
but because the budget was so tight, we only had 11 minutes of film to shoot a 4-minute music video, which, like, if you know anything about film, that's an insanely low shooting ratio.
Yeah.
So it was super super stressful getting that done. We actually ran out of film. You can see it in the video a little bit. We ran out of film shooting the last scene, and there's like this flicker of the gate opening for the last time in the camera on the last scene. So like it was literally a buzzer beater getting the last shot in. And then the scenes in the void were actually shot in a parking lot at like 4 a.m. Over at the Nelson Fieldhouse. But yeah, that was a really really stressful and intense process. But I'm really happy with the way that came out, and actually really happy with the way the rest of the film came out. I can't wait till eventually I can share the rest of it with people.
Yes, and I think maybe the intensity of that experience added to the video itself. I mean, it kept building for me and building. And speaking of that wonderful project that you just mentioned, in the years that I've known you, Mobley, I've always recognized that you are also multimedia. You've used video in your performances. It is an entire experience when you go to a Mobley show. So when I heard about this big collaborative project, which the title of it is A Home Unfamiliar, um, this is a collaboration that I thought, oh, you're probably having a field day with this thing. I can actually see you doing the collaboration and just running with it. And as you explained, the video is, a part of this entire project altogether. And there are a lot of familiar names in here on top of other creatives, not just musicians, not just fellow musicians, but other creatives that you're working with. And I said, a film. Tell how did this come about? What was the inspiration behind this? It's a big project. You have a lot of names here with you. I mean, Alejandro Rose Garcia, Shaky Graves. A shout out to Kalu James, Mama Duke. I saw Sabrina Ellis in there, as well as Jim Eno, of course. Kelsey Wilson of Sir Woman. Jackie Benson, some of the guys from Bright Light Social Hour. I could go on and on. This is huge. And if I can nerd out, I can't help it. So I heard about Carrie Fagan. Is that who I'm thinking of?
Yeah.
This is a lot. There's a lot of people you're working with. That's a visual artist, by the way, for those of you curious, who, by the way, got to show some stuff at the Smithsonian. So you're working with a big crew here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the idea came, as you mentioned, I have a background in film. I have more formal training in film than I do in music. So I'm always interested in working on things in that side. And the idea came to me pretty early on in the lockdown process. I was thinking about the Exquisite Corpse game where you have a drawing and like somebody draws something on a piece of paper and then folds it under, and the next person can only see the very edge of what they did, and so they draw something and pass the paper, and ultimately you have this kind of monstrous but very interesting drawing. And I was trying to think of a way that could be applied to film and music because I had never heard of that being done before. And I was also thinking now's probably a time, early on in lockdown where a lot of people's schedules are open at the same time that wouldn't be open under normal circumstances. And so I basically started reaching out to everybody I could think of and then put out an open call on social media. And I promised a few of the slots to people early on, but the rest of it was just random. And then I randomly assigned people. I narrowed the group down to 30 people, 15 filmmakers and 15 musicians. And then assigned everybody a 2-day period over the month of April. And so the way it worked was I wrote the first piece of music, and then I made a little snippet of the end and handed it off to the next musician, and then handed my whole piece of music off to a filmmaker. And a filmmaker made a piece to go with my music, and then handed off the end of their film piece to the next filmmaker, who got the next piece of music and then made a piece, and so on and so on. And then at the end of the month, we had a visual album that's about 30 minutes long. And I initially thought, well, this could be terrible, but it'll be interesting just because of how it was made and who's involved. Like, there's something fundamentally interesting about it. But I can honestly say some of the music on this album is like some of my favorite music right now, stuff that's stuck in my head all the time. And so many of the films are just gorgeous to look at. It's people really stepped up. It's incredible what people did on their own without any crew. And we're going to be releasing it hopefully toward the end of this month, beginning of next month, via the new Alamo Drafthouse on-demand video service, and all the proceeds are going to go to the Central Texas Food Bank.
That's awesome. And it's like you said, this could be one of the best Frankenstein monsters anyone's ever created.
Yeah.
That's really exciting, and well done for that idea. I think what better time than now?
Yeah.
And again, a tremendous collaboration, and seeing so many, at least for me, so many familiar faces. I was like, oh, I use this expression a lot. For me, it was family time.
Yeah.
And there's Mobley at the helm. All right, let's do this. Mobley, this is exciting. I think if you're up to it, I think we have time for a song. Could you perform a song for us?
Absolutely. I'm gonna play my my current single, Nobody's Favorite.
Excellent.
Come young, come rain, come sunken out half away. Just point the magnet at me, man, let's get some money, we can make it fair. I could be the girl that change your life. 'Cause you've been on the run since you're nobody's favorite. You're nobody's favorite one. You're nobody's favorite. You're nobody's favorite one. You're nobody's favorite one. Say something cool to keep it textual. Well, that's the mood, so what's the mood? She's standing next to you. Holy water, or a shot of ginger ale. I've been drinking from wishing well, hoping it'll change my life. It's not. You're nobody's favorite one. You're nobody's favorite. You're nobody's favorite one. You're nobody's favorite. You're nobody's favorite one. You're nobody's favorite. You're nobody's favorite one. luster's fading. I had a dream this was all I want, but the lust is waning. I had a dream this was all that I nobody's favorite one. You're nobody's favorite. You're nobody's favorite one. You're nobody's favorite. You're nobody's favorite one.
Mobley, I love that one.
Thank you. Thank you.
Damn it. That is badass. My guest this afternoon is Mobley at KUTX at Home, and you just heard Nobody's Favorite. That is off of the EP Young and Dying in the Occident Supreme. And of course, be on the lookout for I said it before, this mammoth project that Mobley put together, assembled. I know it's like wrangling cats.
Absolutely.
It is a wonderful entire video/album project, A Home Unfamiliar. And yes, you will see some familiar faces and see some incredible artists at work. Mobley, I want to say thank you again for joining me this afternoon. I miss you, and it's a pleasure to hear you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks to my guest, Mobley. And thank you for tuning in. KUTX 98.9, the Austin Music Experience. This has been KUTX at Home.